Jake Morrison walked into the huge meeting hall where aliens from across the galaxy gathered to make important decisions. His blue uniform was clean and pressed. His face showed no fear, even though his heart was beating fast. For 3 long years, humans had tried to be nice to these alien creatures. They had said please and thank you. They had followed every rule. They had given up many things they wanted just to keep peace. The meeting hall was enormous. It could hold thousands of beings from different worlds. The ceiling was so high that Jake could barely see it. Strange lights floated in the air without any wires or support. The walls were made of some kind of crystal that changed colors when different aliens spoke. Dr. Lisa Campbell stood beside Jake. She carried a small computer tablet in her hands. For months, she had been writing down every bad thing the aliens had done to humans. She had pictures of destroyed human cities. She had recordings of alien leaders laughing when human children died. She had proof that the aliens had planned to hurt humans from the very beginning. The Zephyrian delegate walked to the center of the room. His name was Krelix. He looked like a giant bug with 6 arms and sharp teeth. His skin was green and covered with hard scales. When he moved, his feet made clicking sounds on the floor. His voice was cold and mean when he spoke. "The human species has been found guilty of being dangerous to the galaxy," Krelix said. His words echoed through the large room. "You have 72 hours to leave your main worlds. If you do not leave, we will destroy your cities from space." Jake felt his hands become fists, but he kept his face calm. He had expected this moment for months. The aliens had been planning this attack since humans first traveled to the stars. They were afraid of humans because humans were different. Humans were stronger and smarter than the aliens thought they should be. Around the room, hundreds of alien creatures watched the humans. Some looked like giant cats with too many eyes. Others looked like walking trees with faces in their bark. A few looked almost human but had blue skin and no hair. All of them stared at Jake and Lisa with unfriendly eyes. "Ambassador Krelix," Jake said in a calm voice. "Humanity asks for a fair hearing to answer these charges." Krelix made a sound like laughing, but it was ugly and mean. His mandibles clicked together rapidly. Other aliens in the room made similar sounds. They thought it was funny that humans wanted to defend themselves. "Your request is denied," Krelix said. "The decision has been made. It cannot be changed." Jake nodded slowly. He had known this would happen. The aliens had never wanted to be fair to humans. They had made up their minds before the meeting even started. This whole thing was just for show. They wanted to make it look like they had given humans a chance. "Dr. Campbell," Jake said quietly, "please record that humanity requested a fair trial and was denied." Lisa pressed buttons on her tablet. The small device was recording everything that happened in the room. Every word, every sound, every movement was being saved. Soon, every human in the galaxy would see this recording. They would know that the aliens had chosen war instead of peace. As Jake and Lisa walked out of the meeting hall, alien guards watched them carefully. The guards carried weapons that could kill a human instantly. Their eyes were cold and unfriendly. They wanted the humans to try something stupid so they could shoot them. Outside the hall, Jake stopped walking. He looked up at the alien sky above the space station. 3 different suns shined down on them. The air smelled strange, like metal and old flowers. In the distance, he could see alien ships flying between tall buildings that reached toward the clouds. "The fleet commanders are waiting for your message," Lisa said softly. Jake pulled out a small communication device. It looked like a simple phone, but it could send messages across the entire galaxy in just seconds. He thought about all the human families living on colonies far from Earth. He thought about human children playing in parks, not knowing that alien warships were coming to kill them. "Send this message to Admiral Kane," Jake said. "Protocol 7 is now active." "The gloves are coming off," Lisa typed the message into her tablet. Within moments, it would reach every human military ship in the galaxy. Secret bases that the aliens did not know about would receive new orders. Hidden weapons would be powered up for the first time in years. "Jake," Lisa said, "are you sure about this? Once we start down this path, there is no going back." Jake looked at her with serious eyes. "Lisa, they made this choice, not us. For 3 years, we tried to be good neighbors. We followed their laws. We paid their taxes. We smiled when they insulted us. We pretended not to notice when they killed our people and called it legal." He pressed the send button on his communication device. "Now they will learn what humans are really like. When we stop pretending to be civilized," Jake continued, Every species in this galaxy is about to discover why Earth spent thousands of years learning how to fight wars. Lisa looked worried. What about the innocent aliens? The ones who did not vote to attack us? Jake's face became hard like stone. They stood by and watched while their governments planned genocide against humanity. They are not innocent. They are just weak, the message was sent. Across the galaxy, human commanders opened sealed orders they had hoped never to read. On hidden military bases, soldiers put on their armor and checked their weapons. In secret factories, machines began building new warships designed for only one purpose: killing aliens. Jake and Lisa walked toward their small transport ship. Soon they would return to Earth and report what had happened. The Galactic Council had made their choice. Now humanity would show them what that choice really meant. Make sure every alien government gets a copy of today's recording, Jake told Lisa. I want them to remember this moment. I want them to know that they chose this war. When their worlds burn, they will know it happened because they decided humans were not worth treating fairly. The transport ship lifted off from the alien space station. As they flew away, Jake looked back at the massive structure where the Galactic Council met. Soon that building would be empty. The aliens who had voted to destroy humanity would be too busy defending their own worlds to hold meetings. The age of human diplomacy was over. The age of human war was about to begin. Admiral Rebecca Kane stood on the bridge of the UES Retribution, the most powerful warship humanity had ever built. The ship was 3 miles long and carried enough weapons to destroy entire planets. For 3 years it had been hidden in a secret base beyond Pluto, waiting for this moment. Around her, the bridge crew worked quietly at their stations. These men and women had trained for this day since they joined the military. They knew that everything they did in the next few hours would change the galaxy forever. Some of them looked scared. Others looked angry. All of them looked ready. Admiral, said Communications Officer Amy Phillips, we have received Commander Morrison's message. Protocol 7 is active, Kane nodded. She had been expecting this message, but it still made her stomach feel tight. Protocol 7 meant that humanity was officially at war with the entire galaxy. There would be no more peace talks. No more trying to be nice. No more following alien laws that were designed to keep humans weak. Open a channel to all ships in the fleet, Kane ordered. Lieutenant Carl Rogers worked at his console. Channel open, Admiral. All ships are standing by. Kane looked around the bridge one more time. These people trusted her to lead them into the biggest war in human history. She could not let them down. This is Admiral Kane to all fleet commanders, she said into her microphone. You have all received your sealed orders. Operation Payback begins now. Remember, we are not the ones who chose this war. We are simply the ones who will finish it. On dozens of human warships scattered across the galaxy, captains opened orders they had carried for years without reading. The orders were simple. Attack any alien military target. Show no mercy. Take no prisoners. Make the aliens afraid. Kane turned to Amy Phillips. Open a channel to every alien world in the galaxy. Phillips looked surprised. Ma'am, that would be breaking 17 different diplomatic rules. Kane smiled, but it was not a nice smile. Good. We are done following their rules. The communication system activated. Kane's face and voice would now appear on every alien planet, space station, and ship. Billions of alien creatures would see her message. They would all know that the human war had begun. Citizens of the galaxy, Kane began, her voice calm and strong. This is Admiral Rebecca Kane of Earth's Defense Force. For 3 years, your governments have murdered human civilians and called it legal. You have destroyed our colonies and said it was necessary. You have treated us like animals while demanding that we act civilized. She paused for a moment, letting her words sink in. Today, your Galactic Council voted to commit genocide against the human race. They have given us 72 hours to abandon our worlds or face destruction. Very well. We accept your terms. As of this moment, humanity withdraws from all galactic treaties and laws. Captain Ryan Cooper watched the broadcast from his destroyer, the UES Vengeance. He had served under Admiral Kane for 5 years. He had never seen her this angry before. Her eyes were cold like ice. Her voice was steady, but he could hear the rage underneath. You wanted to see what humans are capable of when we stop pretending to be civilized, Kane continued. Today you get your answer. You have made us into the monsters you always said we were. Now you will learn why monsters should be feared. On alien worlds across the galaxy, emergency meetings were being called. Alien leaders who had voted to destroy humanity just hours before were now wondering if they had made a terrible mistake. Some of them remembered stories about human history, stories about wars that killed millions, stories about weapons that could turn entire cities into glass. All human ships, Kane said, switching to the military channel. You are now weapons-free. Target any alien vessel that has participated in actions against human civilians. Rules of engagement, there are no rules. Make them pay for every human life they have taken. Captain Nicole Foster commanded the stealth ship UES Phantom. Her ship was invisible to alien sensors and could appear anywhere without warning. She had been waiting for this order for 2 years. Helm, set course for the Zephyrian supply convoy near Kepler, she ordered. Maximum speed. The Phantom jumped to hyperspace, moving faster than light toward its first target. Foster's crew was excited. They had watched alien ships attack human colonies without being able to fight back. Now they could finally return the favor. On Earth, General Patricia Hayes was coordinating the largest military activation in human history. Soldiers who had been pretending to be farmers and teachers and shop owners were putting on their uniforms. Weapons factories that had been disguised as civilian buildings were opening their doors. Hidden bases under mountains and oceans were coming online. Status report, Hayes demanded from Colonel Steve Morgan. Ma'am, we have over 50 million soldiers ready for deployment. The orbital shipyards are launching new ships every 6 hours. All secret weapons programs are now active. Hayes smiled grimly. For decades, humanity had been preparing for this war while pretending to be peaceful explorers. Every human colony had hidden bunkers full of weapons. Every civilian ship could be turned into a warship within hours. Every human citizen had received basic military training. What about the new technologies? Hayes asked. Dr. Tony Clark reports that the fusion torpedoes are ready. Colonel Julia Ross says the orbital bombardment platforms are online. The nanobots are deployed and waiting for orders. Hayes nodded. The aliens thought human technology was primitive and weak. They were about to learn how wrong they were. Humans had spent centuries fighting each other and learning how to build better weapons. Now all that knowledge would be used against the aliens. Send this message to all human colonies, Hayes ordered. The mask is off. Show them what we really are. Across the galaxy, human civilians were transforming into soldiers. Shop owners pulled plasma rifles from hidden compartments. Farmers activated anti-aircraft guns disguised as farming equipment. Children as young as 12 knew how to use military communication systems. The aliens had made one fatal mistake. They thought civilization was the same thing as weakness. They thought humans were soft because humans chose to be peaceful. Now they would learn the difference between a species that could not fight and a species that chose not to fight. Admiral Kane ended her broadcast with words that would be remembered for 1,000 years. You declared war on humanity because you thought we were weak. You mistook our kindness for inability. You confused our desire for peace with fear of war. Today you learn the truth. Humanity is not weak. We were just being polite. The first target was a Zephyrian supply convoy moving through the Kepler system. 12 large cargo ships carried food, weapons, and fuel to Zephyrian military bases. 4 warships protected them. The aliens thought they were safe because no human ships had been seen in this area for months. Captain Nicole Foster watched the alien convoy from her stealth ship, the UES Phantom. Her ship was completely invisible to alien sensors. The special coating on the hull absorbed all forms of energy. Even if the aliens looked right at her ship, they would see nothing but empty space. Scanning the convoy now, reported Ensign Matt Rodriguez from his sensor station. 12 cargo ships, 4 escort vessels. They are carrying supplies to the Zephyrian fleet gathering near Alpha Centauri. Foster smiled coldly. The Zephyrians had always thought human technology was simple and crude. They preferred elegant solutions that looked pretty but did not work very well. Humans preferred ugly solutions that killed the enemy quickly and efficiently. Deploy the nanobots, Foster ordered. Chief Engineer Ben Taylor pressed a button on his console. Millions of tiny robots, each smaller than a grain of sand, shot out from the Phantom toward the alien ships. The nanobots were invisible and moved too fast for alien sensors to detect. Within minutes, they had attached themselves to every ship in the convoy. The nanobots were one of humanity's greatest secrets. Each one contained a computer more powerful than anything the aliens had ever built. They could cut through any material, reprogram any system, and reproduce themselves using materials from the target ship. The aliens had no defense against them because they did not even know such things existed. Nanobots have infiltrated all target vessels, Taylor reported. We now control their engines, weapons, life support, and communication systems. Foster nodded with satisfaction. Send them a message. Tell them this is what happens when you mistake human restraint for weakness. The alien convoy suddenly stopped moving. Their engines shut down. Their weapons turned to point at each other instead of outward. Their communication systems began broadcasting human messages instead of alien ones. On the lead Zephyrian warship, Captain Vex stared at his control panels in horror. Every system on his ship was doing the opposite of what he commanded. When he tried to turn left, the ship turned right. When he tried to call for help, his radio played human music instead. What is happening? Vex screamed at his crew. I do not know, Captain, replied his engineer. All our systems have been compromised. It is as if the ship itself has become our enemy. The cargo ships began to explode one by one. The nanobots had found their fuel tanks and ammunition stores. Each explosion was perfectly timed to create the maximum amount of fear among the surviving aliens. The humans were not just destroying the convoy. They were sending a message about what would happen to any alien who opposed them. Meanwhile, on Earth, General Patricia Hayes stood in a command center buried deep underground. The room was filled with hundreds of computer screens showing human military operations across the galaxy. Each screen showed a different battle where humans were winning against aliens who had thought themselves superior. Status report, Hayes demanded from Colonel Steve Morgan. Ma'am, we are producing warships at 3 times our maximum theoretical capacity. The orbital shipyards are launching a new destroyer every 6 hours. The converted civilian ships are already joining the fleet. Hayes nodded approvingly. For decades, humanity had built what appeared to be a peaceful merchant fleet. Every cargo ship, every passenger liner, every research vessel had been designed with hidden weapon mounts and armor plating. The aliens had watched thousands of human ships travel through their space without realizing each one was a potential warship. What about the new weapon systems? Hayes asked. Dr. Tony Clark reports that the fusion torpedoes are ready for combat testing. Colonel Julia Ross says the orbital bombardment platforms have achieved target lock on 47 alien military installations. The fusion torpedoes were another human secret. Each one contained a miniature sun that could burn through any armor the aliens possessed. The orbital bombardment platforms could drop tungsten rods from space with the accuracy of a sniper rifle and the power of a nuclear weapon. Hayes allowed herself a moment of grim satisfaction. Excellent. It is time the galaxy learned why humans spent so much of their history fighting each other. We became very good at it. Human history was filled with wars. Humans had fought with sticks and stones, then swords and spears, then guns and bombs, then tanks and planes, then missiles and lasers. Every generation of humans had created new ways to kill their enemies. Now all that accumulated knowledge was being used against the aliens. On the planet Arcturus Prime, the local defense force watched in terror as human ships appeared in their system. The humans had somehow traveled faster than light without using the standard hyperspace routes that aliens could monitor. They had appeared without warning, like ghosts materializing from nowhere. Commander Helen Brooks led the human assault force from her flagship, the UES Retribution. Her ships surrounded the alien planet like a pack of wolves surrounding their prey. The aliens had never seen anything like human military formations. They moved with precision and purpose that no alien military could match. Target acquired, announced Weapons Officer Sandra White. Alien defense platforms are powering up their weapons. Destroy them before they can fire, Brooks ordered. The human ships opened fire with weapons the aliens had never seen before. Beams of pure energy sliced through alien hulls like knives through paper. Missiles that could think for themselves found targets the aliens thought were hidden. In less than 10 minutes, the entire alien defense fleet was floating debris. Send landing parties to the surface, Brooks commanded. Secure the military installations. Leave the civilians alone unless they resist. Human soldiers dropped from the sky in armored suits that made them look like metal angels of death. Each soldier carried weapons that could level buildings and armor that could stop anything the aliens could throw at them. They moved through alien cities with ruthless efficiency, capturing military targets while leaving civilian areas untouched. The aliens had expected humans to fight like other species in the galaxy. They thought humans would send large armies to slowly conquer territory. Instead, humans struck like lightning, hitting dozens of targets simultaneously with small forces that were impossibly well-equipped and trained. On the bridge of the UES Retribution, Admiral Kane received reports from battles across the galaxy. Every human attack was succeeding beyond their most optimistic projections. The aliens were not just losing. They were being completely outmatched by human technology and tactics they had never imagined. "Admiral," reported Communications Officer Amy Phillips, "we are receiving surrender requests from 17 alien governments. They want to negotiate." Kane's expression did not change. "Tell them it is too late for negotiations. They had their chance for peace. Now they get to experience war against a species that has been perfecting it for 10,000 years. The galaxy was learning a harsh lesson about the difference between a peaceful species and a weak one. Humans had chosen to be civilized, but they had never forgotten how to be savage. Now the mask was off and the aliens were seeing what humans were really capable of when they decided to stop being nice. The Zephyrian homeworld of Krelos Prime had never seen war. For over 1,000 years, the planet had been safe behind layers of defense fleets and diplomatic treaties. The Zephyrians controlled other species through politics and economics, never needing to fight actual battles. Their cities were beautiful but not built to survive attacks. Their people were soft and comfortable. That peace ended when the UES Apocalypse appeared in their solar system without warning. Captain Andrew Kim commanded the experimental vessel from his bridge deep inside the ship's armored core. The Apocalypse was humanity's most secret weapon, a ship that officially did not exist. It combined human engineering with technology stolen from a dozen alien species. The result was something that no alien military had ever encountered. "Target. Scanning complete," announced Weapons Officer Sandra White. "The Zephyrian High Command is meeting in the capital city's central tower. All primary targets are present." Kim studied the tactical display showing the alien planet below. The tower was in the middle of a city containing 10 million innocent civilians. The aliens had built their command center there thinking humans would never risk harming so many non-combatants. They were about to learn how precisely humans could kill their enemies. "Prepare for kinetic bombardment," Kim ordered. "Single tungsten rod, surgical strike only. Target the command center. Minimize civilian casualties." The kinetic bombardment system was pure human brutality disguised as clean technology. A tungsten rod the size of a telephone pole would be dropped from orbit. It contained no explosives, but when it hit the ground at thousands of miles per hour, it would release more energy than a nuclear bomb. The aliens had no defense against something so simple and devastating. "Rod away," White reported. The tungsten projectile fell through the alien atmosphere like a meteor of death. Zephyrian sensors detected it far too late to intercept. In the final seconds before impact, alien leaders looked up through their windows to see a bright streak of light growing larger and brighter. The rod hit the command tower with the force of an earthquake. The entire building vanished in a flash of superheated metal and stone. The shockwave shattered windows for miles around, but the surrounding buildings remained standing. It was a demonstration of human precision that terrified the aliens more than random destruction would have. Communications Officer Greg Turner monitored alien transmissions from across the planet. "Captain, they are broadcasting surrender requests on all frequencies. The planetary government is begging for mercy." Kim's expression remained cold. "Too late for mercy. They should have thought about that before voting to genocide humanity. Send this message. Admiral Kane demands immediate withdrawal of all Zephyrian forces from human space and full reparations for the colonies you destroyed. You have 12 hours to comply." Similar scenes were playing out across the galaxy as human ships struck targets with terrifying precision. The aliens had expected humans to fight like barbarians, destroying everything in their path. Instead, humans fought like surgeons, cutting out exactly what they wanted to kill while leaving everything else untouched. On the trading world of New Carthage, Commander Helen Brooks led a boarding action against an alien space station. The station controlled shipping routes for half the galaxy. Taking it would cripple alien supply lines while demonstrating that nowhere was safe from human reach. "Remember," Brooks told Sergeant Mike Davis as they prepared to board, "we are not here to occupy territory. We are here to show these aliens that their defenses are useless against human technology." The human boarding pods were invisible to alien sensors until the moment they attached to the station's hull. Each pod carried a squad of soldiers wearing armor that made them nearly invulnerable to alien weapons. They cut through the station's walls like they were made of paper. Inside the station, alien security forces tried to mount a defense. Their energy weapons bounced harmlessly off human armor. Their defensive barriers were sliced apart by human cutting tools. Within 30 minutes, the humans controlled every critical system on the station. Objective secured, Davis reported. All alien military personnel are captured. Civilian workers are unharmed and confined to safe areas. Brooks nodded with satisfaction. Download all shipping data and then plant the demolition charges. I want this station destroyed, but I want the aliens to know we could have captured it if we chose to. The explosion that destroyed New Carthage Station could be seen from the planet below. It sent a clear message to every alien government. Human military forces could appear anywhere, take anything they wanted, and leave nothing but wreckage behind. On Earth, President Maria Lopez watched the reports flowing in from battlefields across the galaxy. Every human attack was succeeding with minimal losses. The aliens were not just losing battles. They were being systematically dismantled by a military machine they had never imagined existed. Status report, Lopez requested from General Hayes. Madam President, we have successfully struck 43 high-value targets in the past 24 hours. Alien military production has dropped by 60%. Their communication networks are in chaos. Several governments are already requesting peace negotiations. Lopez felt a mixture of satisfaction and sadness. She had hoped this day would never come, but the aliens had forced humanity's hand. Now the galaxy would learn what happened when you cornered a species that had evolved from persistence predators. What are our casualties? Lopez asked. Remarkably light, ma'am. We have lost fewer than 100 soldiers across all operations. Our technology advantage is even greater than we projected. The aliens had made a fundamental error in understanding human nature. They thought civilization made humans weak. They did not realize that human civilization was built on top of millions of years of evolutionary programming for violence. Humans had not forgotten how to hunt and kill. They had just gotten better tools for doing it. Dr. Tony Clark watched from his laboratory as his fusion torpedoes performed beyond all expectations. Each torpedo contained a miniature star that burned through alien armor like it was tissue paper. The aliens had no defense against weapons that operated on principles they barely understood. The test results are extraordinary, Clark reported to his military liaisons. Our weapons are proving effective against every form of alien defense we have encountered. Their shields, their armor, their evasion systems, none of it matters. Human weapons were designed by a species that had spent millennia perfecting the art of killing other humans. They incorporated lessons learned from countless wars and incorporated technology that no other species had ever developed. The result was a military advantage that the aliens could not overcome. Colonel Julia Ross coordinated orbital bombardments from her command post on Luna. Her platforms could drop kinetic projectiles on any target in the galaxy with perfect accuracy. Each shot was calculated to achieve maximum psychological impact while minimizing unnecessary destruction. Target the alien military academies next, Ross ordered. I want their future officers to understand that choosing a military career means choosing to die fighting humans. The bombardments were not random acts of destruction. Each target was carefully selected to send a specific message. Military installations were destroyed to eliminate threats. Command centers were eliminated to disrupt coordination, but civilian targets were left untouched to show that human violence was controlled and purposeful. The aliens had wanted to see what humans were like without the restraints of civilization. Now they were learning that human civilization had never been a restraint. It had been a choice, and humans could choose differently when threatened with extinction. 6 months after the war began, Admiral Rebecca Kane sat in the same meeting hall where humanity had been condemned to extinction. The enormous chamber looked different now. Many of the alien delegates were missing. Some had died in the fighting. Others were too afraid to leave their homeworlds. The few who remained looked at the human delegation with barely concealed terror. The Galactic Council emergency session had been called by the aliens themselves. They were desperate to end a war they could not win. Human forces had struck hundreds of targets across the galaxy with surgical precision. Alien military power had been reduced to almost nothing. Their supply lines were destroyed. Their communication networks were in chaos. Ambassador Krelix, who had delivered humanity's death sentence just months before, now looked like a broken creature. His green scales had lost their shine. His 6 arms trembled when he moved. His voice shook as he read from a prepared statement that had been written by lawyers and diplomats trying to save their species from extinction. The Galactic Council formally recognizes humanity's right to exist and agrees to immediate cessation of all hostile actions against human forces, Krelix announced. Kane studied the surrender document with deliberate slowness. She took her time reading every word while the alien delegates waited in nervous silence. Behind her, Commander Jake Morrison and Dr. Lisa Campbell watched the proceedings with calm satisfaction. The human delegation had learned the value of making their enemies wait. "This document is insufficient," Kane finally declared. The aliens shifted uncomfortably in their seats. They had expected humanity to accept the surrender eagerly and return to peaceful coexistence. They did not understand that humans were not interested in going back to the way things had been before. "Humanity requires 3 additional conditions," Kane continued. "First, all species that participated in actions against human civilians will provide full reparations for the damage they caused. Second, the Galactic Council will be restructured to prevent majority tyranny against any single species. Third, humanity will maintain an unrestricted military presence throughout the galaxy." Senator Carl Bennett, Earth's senior diplomat, leaned forward in his chair. His voice was calm but carried the unmistakable threat of renewed violence. "In simple terms, the age of humans begging for acceptance is over. You will treat us as equals, or you will be reminded why evolution favored the aggressive ape over the peaceful herbivore." The alien delegates whispered among themselves in their strange languages. Some of them looked angry that humans would make additional demands. Others looked relieved that humanity was willing to negotiate at all, instead of simply continuing the systematic destruction of alien military power. Krelix spoke for the group. "These terms are unprecedented. No single species has ever been granted such authority over galactic affairs." Kane smiled, but it was not a friendly expression. "No single species has ever demonstrated the ability to destroy galactic civilization within 6 months. Unprecedented situations require unprecedented solutions." The truth was that humanity had been holding back during the entire war. They had struck only military targets while leaving civilian populations untouched. They had used conventional weapons instead of their most devastating technology. They had fought with restraint even while demonstrating overwhelming superiority. The aliens needed to understand that human mercy was a choice, not a weakness. President Maria Lopez watched the negotiations from Earth through a secure communication link. She felt proud of how her people had conducted themselves during the war. Humanity had proven its strength without losing its moral center. They had become the dominant military power in the galaxy, while maintaining their commitment to protecting innocent life. "Admiral Kane," Lopez said through the communication system, "you have the full authority of Earth's government to negotiate whatever terms you believe are necessary for human security." Dr. Lisa Campbell began drafting her final report on the conflict while the negotiations continued. Her analysis would become the definitive record of how humanity transformed from galactic outcasts to galactic powers in less than a year. The galactic conflict of 2387 marked humanity's transition from petitioner to hegemon, Campbell wrote. "By demonstrating our capacity for precise, overwhelming violence, we secured not merely survival but dominance. The galaxy learned that human civilization was not weakness disguised as strength, but strength choosing to be civilized." The negotiations continued for hours as alien lawyers tried to minimize their species' obligations, while human diplomats insisted on comprehensive terms. The humans were patient but inflexible. They had won the war completely and saw no reason to compromise on the peace. "Let me clarify something for all of you," Kane said during a break in the formal negotiations. "Humanity tried your way for 3 years. We offered diplomacy, compromise, and peaceful coexistence. We followed your laws even when they were designed to disadvantage us. We smiled when you insulted us and remained calm when you murdered our people." The chamber fell silent as Kane's words echoed off the crystal walls. "You chose to see our restraint as weakness. You chose to mistake our desire for peace as inability to make war. That was your choice, and you will live with the consequences of that choice for the rest of your species' existence." Ambassador Krelix tried to salvage some dignity for his people. "Surely you understand that many of us were simply following the will of our governments. We did not personally choose to attack humanity." Kane's expression became even colder. "You stood by and watched while your leaders planned genocide against an entire species. You voted for representatives who promised to eliminate human colonies. You celebrated when human ships were destroyed and human children were killed. You are not innocent victims. You are collaborators who got caught. The final peace treaty was signed 3 days later. The terms were exactly what humanity had demanded. The aliens would pay massive reparations for their attacks on human colonies. The Galactic Council would be restructured with humans holding permanent veto power over any decision affecting human interests. Human military forces would maintain bases throughout the galaxy, with unrestricted access to any system they chose to patrol. Most importantly, humanity would have the right to respond to any future threats with whatever level of force they deemed appropriate. The galaxy had learned what happened when humans were pushed too far. Now they would live under the constant reminder that human patience had limits. Commander Morrison approached Kane as the alien delegates filed out of the chamber in subdued silence. "Admiral, some of the crew are asking if we will maintain this military posture indefinitely." Kane gazed out at the stars visible through the chamber's massive viewport. Thousands of worlds orbited those distant suns. On each world lived billions of aliens who now understood that humanity was not to be trifled with. "As long as necessary, Jake," Kane replied. "The galaxy spent thousands of years believing that might makes right. Today they learned that humans have more might than anyone imagined. Tomorrow we teach them that right makes might even more dangerous." The war was over, but humanity's influence in the galaxy was just beginning. Never again would any species dare to vote for human extinction. Never again would aliens mistake human civilization for human weakness. The galaxy had a new sheriff, and that sheriff carried the biggest gun anyone had ever seen. The age of human diplomacy had ended. The age of human dominance had begun.